When Justin was having his hardest time, because I knew him so well, I could see that something was going wrong. It was almost like the brightness in his eyes began to dim. And I would talk to my husband and I'd say, something is going on with Justin. And he says, I know, I see it too. And so I started talking to Justin, even more than I already did, because we've always talked, but he was shutting down, little bit at a time, just shutting down in areas, being around his friends, at school, just different things that said something's wrong, you know, red light, red flag, parent pay attention. And so when that started happening, I talked to Justin and I said, you just need to tell me how you feel.
I wouldn't even have to say anything. Like, they could sense my mood and just be like, oh, like, what's wrong? Sometimes I wouldn't say anything until, like, it exploded and I, like, just had to say something about it, because it was weird. It was like nothing outside was, like, hurting me, so I didn't, like, want to say, like, oh, like, my life sucks, because it really didn't. It was just inside I was like, my life sucks. So I didn't know how to tell them at first. So it surprised me that they understood and were able to, you know, talk me through it.
Justin felt that he wasn't worthy. He felt that he wasn't smart enough. He was having low self-esteem issues. And he felt like he had two parents that had given him most of what he wanted and all of what he needed. So why was his life feeling so crappy?
Everybody beats themselves up. I was just doing, like, abusive beating myself up. Not physically, but very mentally.
When our family was in this crisis involving Justin, I was really proud of him, because the respect and the trust was built in. So he trusted the family to come to the family and say, this is my problem. This is what's happening in my life. Can you help me? At one point he was in crisis and he called me on the phone and he just said, come, Grandma, come. So I stopped everything I was doing and I went. And he shared with me some of the things that he was saying to himself, like how he hated himself, how disgusted he was with himself, how he couldn't get anything done because he was just being overwhelmed with these negative feelings. So I listened to him for a long time, and I think that's really important for people to feel heard, is for you to actually listen. So what I did was listen, and as I listened to him talk, I thought about things that happened to me in my own life, and I related those stories to him. So he didn't feel like he was alone, and this was a new experience that he was having. He realized that this is a human condition, and these thoughts were not him. They were merely thoughts that he was having. But that just because it was the thought didn't mean that it was him. And he understood and he appreciated that. And that just filled my heart with joy. It brings tears to my eyes, actually, to think about that time.
You just have to listen to your kids and not ask them multiple times, because if you ask them first, they're probably not going to give you the truth about what's going on with them, because you know, sometimes the kids, they don't even want that said out loud. You know, if your kid is depressed, you can see it in their face. You can see how they act. You just have to be aware of, is your kid depressed, and how can I help this? See, so what my parents did for me to make me feel comfortable through this problem was just talk to me and know that there was resources to be helped for this. I have friends that their parents didn't want them to go to therapy because they thought they were crazy because of this anxiety. But mine, they just knew, you know, you have to fix a problem. They're the doctors of your mind, so, you know, go see them. That's really a problem in my age. They don't want therapy and they don't want to talk about it, so they just bury it deep down.
As a father, one of the things that I did was make sure that I checked on him. Even though I was at work, I would call home. I would, you know, ask Quincy if she needed anything, because it was a very challenging time. And that's just, you know, as a dad, I was just being a dad, you know, making sure that if he needed anything, I was there. Even though my dad would listen, he couldn't really emotionally connect with us because he didn't go through the same problems we went through. His was more, I'm on the streets, you know, this like hard life, like you really don't have any money. Mine was more mental, but he still had time to listen to me.
it made me feel like I was loved, like I could talk to someone, and I knew someone cared. My mom, she went through like a tough time in her mind. My dad didn't, so he really didn't know how to help. He would listen to me, but he didn't know how to help. My mom, I could actually talk to her, and she would give me feedback to help with. But most parents, you can't do that with.
He was looking for perfection because he thought that we had raised him in a perfect way. And so I began to explain to him that that's not how it works. You have to be allowed to not always feel good. We don't require perfection from you. We just require that you love yourself first. So I spent a lot of time just teaching my child how to love himself, how to accept his shortcomings, that nothing is perfect, that if you love yourself first and foremost, you even have to love yourself more than me, more than you love me. And that was a foreign concept for him. He didn't see how it was possible for him to love himself more than he loved his parents. And I said, until you do that, it's going to be hard for you. Because if you love yourself most, you'll make better decisions about how you treat yourself on the inside and stop beating yourself up. We went through a lot, and he was open. And because he was so open and willing to hear what I had to say, and I had created that pathway for him to hear what what Mitch and I said to him. By the time I got Justin to the point where he could say, yes, I love myself, he had healed a lot of what was hurting him. And he realized that it was himself hurting himself. And so he's gotten a lot better. He feels better, he feels stronger, and that light is on in his eyes again.
The process that brought me back to not hating myself is just knowing that I'm a human being and I can make mistakes and I'm not perfect. Because that was my thought pattern. I had to be perfect at everything, but I don't have to be. I'm just human. What made it go away was when my therapist said, would you say the same things to yourself if you were sitting right next to you? And that really clicked in my mind. I was like, whoa, like I was being really mean to myself for no reason. And it's like double beating up yourself. And that's what solved it. And yeah, other techniques, of course, but I haven't had anxiety since that.
I think I wouldn't have changed anything because I told Justin, and I tell young people that you're going to go through life experience, and you have to go through them. And it's better that he learned right now than he would if he got a little older, because medical is expensive, and I'm grateful that I had medical for him, because that really helped us a lot, having Kaiser, having him go to the hospital and talking to the psychiatrist and having that support system. And I think that was a lot for us. So I wouldn't change anything because it made him who he is right now. He's a superstar on the rise. That's what I believe.